For 40 years, this landscape was the only home the Israelites knew. But now, as they stand on the threshold of the Promised Land, their situation has shifted. Moses, the man who defined their identity and led them out of Egypt, is dead. The people are left in a state of transition. Moses brought them to the edge of the Jordan, but his leadership ended at the border. To move forward, the nation requires a different kind of guide for the journey ahead. Joshua, the man appointed to take command, carries a name that clarifies his role. In ancient Hebrew, Joshua translates to Yahweh is salvation. When this same name is translated into Greek, it becomes Jesus, the name rendered in English as Jesus. Because of these parallels, the Book of Joshua functions as more than a military record. It establishes a typological framework where the physical events of the conquest provide a map for the spiritual concepts found in the New Testament. This chart shows how the text validates Joshua's leadership by mirroring the life of Moses. Where Moses saw God in a burning bush, Joshua meets the commander of the Lord's army. Where Moses parted the Red Sea, Joshua will lead the people through the parting of the Jordan River. The crossing of the Jordan River, seen here winding through the valley, was the definitive entry into Canaan. It marked the end of the nomadic wandering and the start of the inheritance. In this context, the river serves as a symbol for baptism. It represents the death of the old wilderness identity and the step into a new life within the land of promise. Once the people began to eat the local produce of Canaan, the manna, the miraculous food that had sustained them for 40 years, immediately stopped. This transition from the manna to the fruit of the land suggests a move towards maturity. The season of being sustained by daily external miracles ended so they could begin to labor and thrive in their own territory. The campaign begins at the fortified city of Jericho, where archaeological excavations reveal these ancient stone foundations. It is here that Rahab, a Canaanite prostitute, chooses to align herself with the God of Israel, despite being an outsider. Rahab marks her window with a vibrant red cord to identify her home to the Israelite army. As the city walls fall, that cord serves as the sign of her protection, a visual parallel to the blood of Jesus that protects a believer from judgment. Rahab's faith stands in direct contrast to Achan. Though he was a privileged member of the Israelite tribes, Achan violated God's command by stealing gold and garments from the ruins of Jericho for himself. Achan's choice led to an immediate military disaster. When the army moved on to the smaller city of Ai, seen here in its tiered rocky ruins, the Israelites were unexpectedly and violently defeated. This creates a striking moral contrast. Rahab, the outsider, is saved through faith and joins the lineage of the Messiah. Achan, the insider, is lost through disobedience, showing that the consequences of sin impact the entire community. We have to address the severity of the conquest itself. The divine command to completely destroy the Canaanite populations is a point of significant tension for many modern readers. However, the biblical narrative places this judgment within a timeline of 400 years. This suggests a period of extreme patience, where the inhabitants of the land had generations to turn away from their practices. Those practices included the ritualistic burning of infants as sacrifices to the idol Molech. Artifacts like this golden figurine illustrate the culture of idol worship that characterized the region. The conquest is framed not as a campaign of random violence, but as a delayed act of justice intended to remove these practices and prevent the spiritual contamination of the Israelites. After years of conflict, including the account of the sun standing still in the sky, 31 kings were defeated. The promise made to Abraham centuries earlier was finally a physical reality across these hills. The land was then divided among the 12 tribes. The nation was no longer a group of refugees. They were now established landowners with a permanent inheritance. At the age of 110, Joshua gathered the leaders for a final address. He delivered a clear warning. The land would only remain theirs as long as they remained faithful to their covenant with God. He emphasized that possessing the physical territory was meaningless without continual obedience. If they abandoned God, the land itself would eventually reject them. Ultimately, Joshua's story reveals a pattern. Moses, representing the law, led the people to the border, but he could not bring them into their rest. It required a Joshua, a name signifying salvation, to carry them through the water and into their permanent home.